Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with a belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Pray also for me, that whenever I speak, words may be given me, so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly as I should. Hello friends, once again welcome to the spiritual journey with the Reverend Wilfred Alero. I know you are wondering what I'm doing in the fire station with my clerical vestments, but that's okay. Your concern is genuine. These vestments can only be worn in the altar or in a place where spiritual duties are performed. In fact, we wear them in the safest place that we know, and that is the altar. And the altar is the presence of God. I don't expect anybody to attack me physically or even verbally in the altar, because that is the presence of God. In the presence of God, we are assured of safety, of divine provision, and all the best things we know in the world. So, these vestments that I'm wearing can only prepare me to perform my religious duties, not to fight in defense of anything. Otherwise, today we are going to reflect on the armor of God as written by Apostle Paul in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 to 20, which talks about preparedness. And as Christians today, we want to learn something from the firefighters in terms of how they prepare themselves, how they respond to emergencies, what they wear, the equipment they use to make their ways and to win that fire or whatever they are dealing with, emergency, medical, and all that. We want to learn something from them. And so, relax, feel in the presence of the Lord as I change. So friends, we have just read the armor of God in Ephesians chapter 6, beginning to read at verse 10 to 20, and we are learning about the full armor of God in the light of a firefighter, as I told you earlier. Because it's a calling. It's not just a job that you expect to earn something at the end of the day, week, or at the end of the month. It's a great commission to serve God's people, or to serve as Jesus did, as the apostles did. They did not do this to be paid. They knew volunteers can't be paid enough, but they can be appreciated. Only God can pay them enough. So here today, we want to look at the first thing. First of all, these are first responders, people who respond to the need of people who need help at any given time. And so what any of them should have is this radio here. This signifies our alertness, our readiness. I've been challenged here in the last few days that at any call, I've never been the first person here. Anytime I come, I find that someone is already here ahead of me. And so one day, coincidentally, the call found me in this station, and the first person responded within 1.5 minutes. It tells you how swift these people are, how they have the feeling or welfare of people in their heart. So you want to walk with your radio every time, you have to be alert. If only children of God can be that prepared at any given time to the need of others who need their help and prayer, that would be a wonderful thing. Now, let me show you the next thing that happens here. And now, friends, I'm ready to help you understand the relationship between the soldier spoken of in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, and the firefighter. Now, a firefighter is well equipped from the gears he's putting on. First of all, he has protective boots that protects his feet from any injury that may come from the ground. Then he has gloves that helps protect his hands from touching anything that may be hazardous. Then he has his mask, which protects his face from any injury. This is a very important protective gear for a firefighter at any given time. Then, as part of the headgear, he also has his balaclava, which is part of the head protection gears. Then he has a special helmet to protect his head or any object that may hit his head. But this helmet is not an ordinary one. It has a spotlight just in case he needs it, especially at night, and also a goggle that he may wear when his face mask is not on. Apart from that, there are important things that he's also having on his body. He has this highly protective gear, insulated to protect his body from fire or any hazardous chemical that he is dealing with in the mission. Above all, and the most important one, is this SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus, which is full of oxygen, and it has to be checked before he even puts it on. Then a firefighter is ready to go, but he now needs equipment. Things like this wrench here that he will use to tighten his nozzle. He will also need equipment like this axe here to break through the doors during the process of rescue. He has these cone and tapes to prevent or keep away people who are not part of the crew, who may intrude and get injured during operation. And then look at this truck here. In this truck, these trucks has just about everything. In fact, they have everything needed in a firefighter's operation. From those ladders you're seeing up there are nozzles, different varieties, there are generators here, there are lights here, there are so many things that a firefighter cannot do without. Some that they hardly even use. They have more than enough to attack the enemy of the day. So that way a firefighter is prepared to fight for the day, to face the enemy of the day. The other things, very special ones that we must learn from these wonderful people, they are prepared professionally to deal with the things they are going through. Then they are always in pair. Beginning from the station here, a partner checks on his partner. It's a kind of a brother's keeper thing. Make sure that oxygen tank is full. To check on the partner's gears, to make sure that everything is good. Then another thing is that when they are out there, what they do is they work as a team. One person will hold the nozzle or the head of the hose as he directs the fire, while the other guy will be holding the hose, helping to support with the weight. And it works so well. This is a wonderfully coordinated team that will never leave each other, especially at the point of need. They are there for each other. When the oxygen is running out, a time comes when they even share oxygen from the same tank. If a partner is defeated, to help the other partner, he would call the rest of the team, raise alarm, and the other crew would come to rescue. That is a wonderful thing that we are learning as Christians from the firefighters. We learn the preparedness, the emergency response. They never get tired. When they are in the scene, they are always working together. Now, I know that some firefighters are demonstrating love to neighbors and not God, like they are not believers. Now, this is just a reminder. The love of God, the agape love, will only be complete when you demonstrate this love to your neighbor and then back to God, back to Him. Then it will be that complete triangle, triangle of agape love. Then, to Christians who only demonstrate love to God and forget that it should be extended to neighbor in a pragmatic way, I urge you to emulate these wonderful people in how to show love, care, and concern to the needy. And that is when the agape love will be complete, and it will be a perfect, wonderful love. In fact, and God will be happy when that is happening. God wants us to serve Him in all ways. Jesus is teaching us about love, and love is what you do to the other person. The agape love is never complete when it is not vertical, horizontal, and diagonal. When it's vertical, it comes from God to us and from us to Him. Then when it comes from us, it goes horizontally to our neighbors. When it comes from our neighbors, it goes back diagonally to God. That is when agape love is complete. And that is what these people are doing around the clock to make sure that the mission of God is accomplished. So friends, finally I want to remind you that I know that you are struggling in your life in a daily basis. At every given time you are struggling. We all know that life is full of conflicts. You are struggling with one thing at every given time. Every Christian has his own Goliath giant on his way. So, as Christians, we have our giants. One time you are struggling with your job. One time you are struggling with your family. One time you are struggling with the relationship with your friends and relatives. You are always a soldier. And as a soldier that Paul is telling us today, and the one that we are seeing in a firefighter, we cannot manage our conflicts, our Goliaths, when we are not prepared, when we don't have necessary weapons and tools and equipment, anything that is needed. Then, and that thing that is needed are coming in terms of your spiritual preparation and relationship with your Creator, and that is your God. How do you enhance the relationship between you and Him? Because God will help you if you rely on Him, but not only relying on Him without also working, because faith without work is nothing, is useless. So in as much as we rely on our God as soldiers that we are, we want all our weapons to hit the target. We want all our protective gears to be surrounded by that divine protection so that no weapon of the enemy can penetrate. So look at that. Reflect on your life in these lines that I've shared with you today. And as a soldier of Christ, fully armed, you are going to overcome. May God bless you once again until we meet next week in the spiritual journey. Bye.